In 2025, shifting immigration policies are upending lives across America, especially for Filipino immigrants now facing deportation in 10 U.S. cities. In Los Angeles, historic Filipino town once symbolized hope and new beginnings for generations of Filipino immigrants. It was a place where families could build their dreams, find community, and feel a sense of belonging far from home. But now, a sweeping new federal directive has empowered local police to work hand-in-hand with immigration agents, eroding the sanctuary protections that once offered a sense of safety. The lines between local law enforcement and federal immigration have blurred, leaving many feeling exposed and vulnerable. Maria Reyes, a longtime store owner, shares her story. Her cousin, who had lived here for years, was detained during a routine traffic stop. No criminal record, just a flagged visa. The fear that it could happen to anyone now hangs over every conversation in the neighborhood. Fear now shadows daily life. People avoid driving, worried they might be stopped. Clinics see fewer patients as families are afraid to seek medical help. Trust in authorities, once a cornerstone of this community, is vanishing rapidly. In response, advocacy groups scramble to provide legal aid, organize Know Your Rights workshops, and reassure families. Volunteers work tirelessly, hoping to empower their neighbors with information and support. They argue these policies are tearing apart families, forcing parents and children to live in constant anxiety, and undermining the city's economy as small businesses struggle to survive. For many, the promise of Los Angeles, a city built on diversity and opportunity, has become a broken one, replaced by uncertainty and fear. Generations who helped build this city, working in its hospitals, schools, and businesses, now find themselves targeted by aggressive enforcement. Their contributions are at risk of being forgotten. The question remains, is this the new reality for one of America's most diverse and vibrant cities, or can the spirit of community and resilience prevail in the face of these challenges? In New York City, Filipino communities in Woodside, Queens, once thrived under sanctuary protections. These neighborhoods became a haven for new arrivals, a place where families could build their lives, celebrate their culture, and feel a sense of belonging far from home. Now, federal threats to cut funding have led to quiet cooperation between NYPD and immigration authorities. The lines between local safety and federal enforcement are blurring, leaving many residents anxious and uncertain about their future. Detainer requests are increasingly honored, creating a chilling effect. Fear spreads as word travels quickly through tight-knit circles, and trust in local institutions begins to erode. Filipino nurses, once pandemic heroes, now fear for their jobs and families as minor visa issues can trigger deportation. The very people who risk their lives to save others now find themselves vulnerable, their sacrifices seemingly forgotten. Churches and community centers have become crisis hubs, overwhelmed by calls for help. Volunteers scramble to provide legal advice, emotional support, and basic necessities to those suddenly at risk. The city's balancing act between progressive ideals and federal pressure feels like a betrayal to many. Protests erupt, demanding that New York uphold its promise as a sanctuary, but city leaders struggle to find a path forward. Families are forced into the shadows, bonds strained by uncertainty. Children worry about losing parents, and parents fear every knock at the door. New York's legacy as a beacon of hope is under threat. The promise of safety and opportunity is fading for those who need it most. For Filipino families, the city they helped build is turning its back. Their contributions, from hospitals to small businesses, are at risk of being erased by fear and policy shifts. Can New York's sanctuary withstand the political storm of 2025, or will the city's most vulnerable be left to weather it alone? San Francisco, long celebrated for its progressive values and reputation as a sanctuary for all, now finds itself gripped by a new kind of fear as federal agents move through its streets, bypassing local laws and policies meant to protect residents. Unmarked vans and plain clothes officers have become a chilling presence, targeting neighborhoods like the Excelsior District, where immigrant families have built their lives for generations. Even minor, decades-old visa infractions, long forgotten by most, are now being used as justification for sudden detentions, tearing families apart with little warning. One Filipino chef's family, who had followed every legal step and contributed to the community, watched in shock as he was taken away in a dawn raid, their sense of safety shattered in an instant. In response, community organizations have shifted into high gear, creating rapid response networks and using technology to warn residents of federal activity, hoping to protect their neighbors before it's too late. City officials publicly condemn the raids, voicing outrage and frustration, but their power is limited. They cannot stop the federal actions, no matter how hard they try. The sanctuary city model, once a proud symbol of resistance and protection, is now exposed as vulnerable. Federal power ultimately trumps local intent, leaving city leaders and residents feeling powerless. Filipino residents, along with many others, now live with constant anxiety, feeling betrayed by the city's promises and unsure if their home is truly a safe haven. The fog of uncertainty and fear has settled over San Francisco, replacing the city's famous mist with a sense of unease that lingers in every neighborhood. For many, the city's progressive ideals now feel distant, overshadowed by the harsh reality on the ground, a paradox that challenges San Francisco's very identity. In Houston, Texas, new state laws empower police to enforce immigration rules, making every traffic stop a potential risk. Filipino professionals, from engineers to healthcare workers, now avoid driving, fearing minor infractions could lead to deportation. Mixed-status families live in constant anxiety, knowing a single encounter could tear them apart. Community groups try to educate and support, but fear is pervasive. Businesses struggle as workers seek safer jobs or leave the state. Houston's economic growth is threatened by policies that divide and destabilize. State and federal crackdowns leave Filipino families with nowhere to turn. The Lone Star State feels less welcoming than ever. Chicago's reputation as a welcoming city is under strain as federal grants require increased data sharing with ICE. Quietly approved agreements now flag minor local arrests for federal review. A Filipino student detained after a protest saw his visa status jeopardized by new protocols. Advocates warn the city is sending mixed messages: publicly protective, privately compliant. Trust in city services is eroding, and families feel betrayed. Chicago's sanctuary is only as strong as its digital firewalls, which are crumbling. Filipino families who sought safety here now face uncertainty. The city's ideological conflict leaves its most vulnerable residents exposed. In Las Vegas, Filipino hospitality workers face a new zero-tolerance enforcement policy. Even minor infractions, like expired registration, now lead to detention and deportation. A longtime blackjack dealer's deportation shocked the community and his union. Protests and vigils fill church parking lots as families plead for compassion. These policies are tearing apart the backbone of the city's economy. The gamble of a better life in America now feels rigged. For many, years of hard work can be erased in an instant. In Seattle, Filipino tech and healthcare workers face a paradox. The city champions immigrant rights, but local tech giants' tools are used for federal surveillance and deportation. Filipino engineers struggle with the knowledge that their work may harm their own community. City council resolutions condemn these practices, but federal agencies operate freely. Soft targets are approached at transit hubs, spreading fear. Seattle's public stance clashes with its private complicity. Filipino families feel exposed by the very innovation that drew them here. The city's safe harbor is now shadowed by anxiety. Miami's Filipino community faces harsh new state laws, mandatory e-verify, invalidated licenses, and aggressive deportation funding. Restaurant owners lose staff as workers fear for their safety, even with pending visas. The e-verify mandate forces employers to choose between loyalty and legality. Everyday tasks like driving become dangerous. A home health aide risks everything just to work. The city's international energy is dimmed by invisible walls of fear. Miami thrives on immigrant labor and culture, yet new laws threaten their existence. The message from Florida's government is clear: immigrants are unwelcome. Filipino families find themselves outsiders in a city they helped build. In San Diego, the Filipino community lives under the shadow of intense border enforcement. Federal agents operate far inland, with checkpoints and surveillance in Filipino neighborhoods. Even citizens' families are caught up. One Navy veteran's father was detained despite legal paperwork. Legal aid groups are overwhelmed by cases of family separation and minor infractions leading to detention. Everyday activities, like a drive to the beach, now carry risk. The border is not just a line, it's a daily reality for millions. Filipino Americans who served the country feel like suspects in their own home. San Diego's beauty is now tinged with anxiety and suspicion. In Honolulu, Hawaii, Filipinos are the largest Asian group, deeply woven into island life, but isolation makes deportation especially devastating. No nearby states, just a flight thousands of miles away. The only federal detention center for miles is a source of dread. New policies fast-track denials for long-pending family visas, punishing minor paperwork errors. Lola Santos, 82, faces deportation after decades in Waipahu, her family's home. Community leaders rally, calling the policies cruel and counterproductive. The aloha spirit is under siege as families are torn apart. Even paradise is not immune to the shifting tides of immigration enforcement. For many, the dream of Hawaii is slipping away. The nightmare of separation is now a reality. Across 10 cities, Filipino communities face the harsh realities of America's new immigration landscape. These stories reveal not just policy shifts, but the resilience and courage of families under pressure. The fight for dignity continues in courtrooms, community centers, and daily life. It's vital to look beyond politics and see the human faces at the heart of this issue. Stay informed, support immigrant communities, and use your voice for change. This story is still unfolding, and we'll keep bringing you the truth. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more in-depth documentaries.